today, I wanted to make a statement that was going to be more, I think, subjective and more, I'm going to force you to think a little bit about some things, because I've been doing a lot of listening lately. Listening to players, 16, 17, 14, who are just blistering when they're playing. Singles, doubles, quadruples, doesn't matter what they're playing. It's effortless, molar, all those things. It's just like, and it's like a wave rather than notes coming across. And I really do admire that. But I'm going to bring a concept in that I want you to think about. And I'm asking you to think about this because I am learning this right now because of watching these videos and watching my own videos happen as well. Now, I'm not comparing myself to those, but I'm telling you why I'm doing this. When you're playing behind the kit, whatever you're playing, you are hearing the most articulate sound that the instrument is making. Every attack, every thump, every rock on a cymbal is right there, right in front of you. Everything's right out front. And I have to tell you, that's a double-edged sword. Not that it's not great to be the articulate as you can be, but I'm going to call this segment, When is Too Fast Too Much? And I say this because I'm going to give you an example. There's one particular lick that I've been hearing and actually reading about that is really prominent today in a lot of either progressive drumming, heavy metal drumming, or whatever, the combinations that they have between snare drum and bass drum. And even in the Drum Gods 2 book, one of the things under the Mike Portnoy segment was this particular lick, which I've been doing for a long time, but never quite the way that he does it. It's basically 2 shots on a snare drum, 2 on a bass drum, then 4 shots on a snare drum, 2 on the bass drum, and continues in a rolling kind of pattern. Now, when you first start to do that, it's that same thing that they'll show you in Colin Bailey's bass drum control. It's the same exercise basically like in stick control, only imported to the feet. And so on. We, as technicians, push the envelope on all these things and try to build up the chops to be able to do that type of technique. I have managed, and I even did this back when I was in college, learned to do that lick, quite by accident by the way, but I managed to build it up to about this tempo. And I think the thing that amazes me on a lot of these is that we, in back of this kit, are hearing every specific attack, every nuance of the drum, every bit of the sonic cluster that it needs to be. The unfortunate part is I have listened to a lot of these licks that you try to really burn up out front or particularly on tape, and it comes out like a blur. It comes out ineffective because even though it's effective to us back here, the sonic volume and timbres that are coming out front kind of all blend together, so that if you're 15 or 20 feet away from you, it's not really sounding like that. It's coming off like a rumble on a lot of things. And even though it's pretty quick to actually do that, that rumble loses its effectiveness. So I'm kind of calling this particular segment, When is Too Fast Too Much? You really have to sit down with any particular phrase that you want to do, whether it's a lick like that, or even the dreaded triplet lick, and really gear it to the speed of where you think it's going to be effective out there to your audience. Because if you're playing along, and even though you're, and I have to tell you a little secret, I used to feel this way when I was doing the floor shows, because from where I was sitting, I was really pounding out some stuff, and the audience was missing it. They weren't going, wow, man, look at what he's doing, look at what he's accomplishing, because it wasn't coming off effectively. I'd listen to it back on tape and I'm going, I don't even know what I'm doing in there, because it's coming out like a rumble. So you have to not only pace yourself, but you also have to sit down and find out whether these particular patterns work effectively very fast, very slow, or moderate. So I mean it's a judgment thing that's going to be clouded because you're sitting behind hearing all the things specifically. Have you ever played a pattern you thought was really kind of empty? Because you're hearing all the space in between all the individual notes, and there's no sonic blur because it's right here, it tends to make you want to try to push it faster. And it starts losing its effectiveness, you know? Have you ever sat down there, and I know you all have, because if you're any kind of drummer like I was, when you're playing out live, your tempos are usually about anywhere between 10 and 15 beats hot, on the hot side, when you're playing live. Your adrenaline's pumping, you got the audience in front of you, and you start bashing, and you really want to make a good show. And then you listen to the original recording and go, oh my God, is that slow? So you really have to learn to temper your time and the licks for what you're doing, the techniques for what you're doing, to really sound effectively out there and not just back here. That's my thought for the day.